Okay, so Algebra 3, my third hour class.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right. So we started the work, right? And so when we did this problem yesterday, we were learning about how we multiply here, subtract, right? And then each time we keep subtracting, and then we get no remainder. If I said no remainder, what do we call that? What do we call it if there was a 0 down here? It's an F word. Not that F word. Yeah. What's the F word? What do we call it? If there's 0 remainder, I said it a whole bunch of times.
Function, factor, I don't know.
One of them. Which is it?
Factor.
Factor. They are factors. So it is going to be a factor if it's 0, right? So it is going to be a factor if it's 0. If it's not, then it comes out looking like this. So right here, this is basically saying 10 times 33 is 330. And there's nothing left over. But this one right here, when I do my math, minus, and then I get a remainder there, there's something left over. So it's basically, for this one, it's going to be 4 times 82 plus 2, which 2 was the remainder, because it doesn't go in evenly. So if it doesn't go in evenly, that's what a remainder is. So it's not a factor. There's going to have a remainder. This one right here also. This one, no remainder, 0, good. Consider this polynomial function where you know that u is an unknown real number. If x minus 2 is a factor, what is the value of u? All right. If we know x minus 2 is a factor, what do we also know about that? What do we know about that? If x minus 2 is a factor, what do we know about that? Think about that last test. We had a whole bunch of those. X equals 2, right? That's very good. So I know if it's a factor, it says x minus 2 equals 0, and I know that x equals 2. So x equals 2. So when x is 2, what is this supposed to be equal to? 0. That is super important. That is like key important. Es muy importante. Okay, or anyone say very important in Swahili? I totally forgot it. I took a class in Swahili and I totally forgot it. All right. What is it? How do you say it? You don't know? Okay. Anyone else other languages? Super important. This is for all the people out there in YouTube land. Important. Nizui? Okay, good. There we go. All right. So we know this is super important. So important, I'm going to say it in multiple languages, that when x is 2, this is supposed to be equal to 0. So let's go ahead and plug that in, right? I'm going to plug that in and see what I get. So I know that this is supposed to be 0. So I'm going to put 0 equals, and my x value is supposed to be what? Say 2. 2. So I'm going to go 2 to the 4th minus u, and then next 2 to the 3rd, right? Plus 24 times 2 squared minus 32 times 2 plus 16. So, whole bunch of math here. Now, 2 to the 4th power. That's 2 times 2, which is times 2 times 2. Okay, let's try it again. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2, 8. And then times 2, 16. So that's 4 2's, right? That's 2 to the 4th power. That's 16. So I'm going to write 0 equals 16 minus, all right, now 2 to the 3rd power. What did we say 2 to the 3rd power was? 8. So it's going to be 8, and I'm trying to find the u. 8u. All right, the next one's going to be 2 squared is 4, right? 4 times 24 4 times 24.
96.
96. So plus 96. And 3 times, I'm sorry, 32 times 2? Minus 64 and plus 16. Yes? Okay, good. So now that we're doing that, now we have to do a whole bunch of combining, right? Whole bunch of combining. So we have positive 16. Leave this off because that's my variable. Positive 96, negative 64, and positive 16. Y'all have that little box on your desk. What's it called? The calculator? Yeah. Yeah, the little thing. Yeah. It's not your cell phone, right? But it has good reception. It's got Wi-Fi. Yes. So what did we come up with? What's the number? Pretty sure it should be a positive something. $128? I think it's positive 128. I don't know. Yes? No? Maybe? Anything? What'd you get? You don't have it. What's 16? Plus 96. Minus 64. Plus 16.
66.
That's 96, that's 112 minus.
So, look. Okay, so
It says 64.
negative, minus 64, right? So, look, put these together. So, that and that. So, that's going to be, this and this is 32. Positive 32 and negative 64 is a negative 32. Oh, negative 32 is 64. Okay. All right, positive 64, right? Yeah, positive 64. So, I get 0 equals 64 minus 8u. Now what do I do? Subtract 64 to both sides, so it's going to be 64 equals negative 8u, right? Because I subtracted 64 to both sides. Divide both sides by negative 8. U is positive 8. So, what do we learn from this? What did that factor tell me? What did the one factor tell me?
X equals 2.
That x equals 2. And when x is equal to 2, what is your value going to be? What's the value supposed to be when x is equal to 2? 0. That's the main thing that we're trying to get out of this. So when x is 2, your value has to be 0, right? That is a factor, that is a rule, so there's a 0 product, so it's supposed to equal 0 when x is 2. And so we could actually solve for this. Here's a hint. You got a test question like this coming up.
Really?
Yeah, after break.
Yes.
Yeah, y'all probably forget about it by then. All right, so which of these polynomials could have this as a factor? All right, we talked about this yesterday on yesterday's notes. So, what am I working with here? And what do I have? So, is it possible to have that be a factor?
No.
Why?
Because it's an odd number.
Because 2 times something, to be negative 5, it'd be like, yeah, no, it would be, yeah, 2.5. It'd be a positive 2.5, right? So, it doesn't really work out very well, right? So that one doesn't work out. So just by the trick that we learned yesterday, it's not going to work out. It's not going to be an integer. That's what we're looking for. All right, what about this? I'm working with this and this. That could be a yes, right? Okay. So what about this?
No.
No? You say no on that one? Okay. What about this one?
Yes.
It could be. It could be. Maybe. What about this? That one could.
Yes.
And yes. All right. Now, why are we saying those? Because I can multiply by 2. I can multiply some number by 2 to actually get that out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it could be. You never know. But those could be the factors, and that's the point that we're trying to make. Those could be, but we're not doing the math on it yet to actually see what it would be. Now, let's look at C. How do we know? Select one of the polynomials that you said does not have this as a factor. How did we know? Because what?
You can't multiply something by 2 to get it done.
To get 5, right? Okay, we can't. Let's go -2 to get -5, right? Now, let's divide it. Let's divide it now. So, I'm going to take one of the problems. Which one do you want to do? Well, you want to do the first one or third one? You want to do A or C?
C.
All right, he said C. Let's go with C. All right, so on C, here, so I can get this right. C was ABC. All right, so it's going to be and plus 5, like that, right? All right, and we said it was x minus 2.
Yeah.
So if I do that, that means it's going to be an x minus 2 is on the outside. On the inside, it's going to be 2x cubed plus 13x squared plus 16x and plus 5. All right, what is my leading term here that I have to address? What's the term that I have to use? Okay, 2x cubed, right? So that's my first term that I have to address. I have to try and cancel that one, right? So I have 2 terms over here, so I need to go over 2 terms here, right? So what am I going to multiply by x to get 2x cubed? 2x squared. 2x squared. So when I distribute that, I should get 2x cubed. And 2x squared times -2 is a
Minus
4x squared, right? And remember, this is from yesterday. So I put parentheses and a minus sign right there so we don't lose our minus sign. So when we do that, what's going to happen to my x cubes? Go away. Those are 0. And so it's going to become a plus 4 now, right? So 13 plus 4 is positive 17x squared. I need 2 terms, so I have to bring down 16 plus 16x. So my leading term now is 17x squared. So 17x squared. So what am I going to multiply by?
17x.
Very good. So positive 17x. So that's going to give me 17x squared. And it's going to give me a minus 34?
Yes.
34x. So the minus and negative is going to make that a plus, right? So it's going to be 16 and a positive 34, which is 50, right? Because I'm going to make it distribute, right? Okay, so that becomes positive 50. Positive 50. There we go. 50x. Bring down my 5. All right, so what am I going to multiply? My leading term is 50x, right? What? By 50. So plus 50. So when I do that, it's going to be a 50x, and then it's going to give me minus 100, do my subtraction, and I come up with what? 105. So I get 105 as a remainder. So I get a positive 105. So if you notice, it didn't work out, did it?
Nope.
No. So I have a remainder. And so now the way I would write my remainder would be I would add another piece to it. So I'd put a plus sign right here. And my remainder is going to be this left over, which is 105, divided by, what did I divide the whole thing by? Not 2, x minus 2. So that's how I would actually write the whole answer. So if there is a remainder, that's how I have to write the remainder. Okay? So I know everyone wrote that down, because it's super important. All right, and the last one. Oh, I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it in a second. All right, list the remainders for each polynomial when divided by x minus 2. How do each compare to the values of the functions at x equals 2? List the remainders. So what I could do is I could just plug in 2 for each one. Now, for the one that we did, we're going to plug in 2 and see what we get. So right here, let's go ahead and just plug in 2. So that's what it's asking us to do here. So I'm going to go purple on this one. So it's going to be plugging in 2. 2 cubed plus 13, 2 squared plus 16 times 2 plus 5.
Is it third one?
Hmm?
Is it third one?
Yeah, this is still C. List the remainders for each polynomial when divided by this. Okay, how do these compare to the function? So we're plugging in for what we just did. Plug in x equals 2. So that's going to be 8, 16 plus 20, no. 4 times 13, 4 times 13, 4, 52. And this is going to be 32 plus 5. So that's going to be 84, 105. So what we were able to do is, since we know the function right here, we divide it by this. And if I plug it in and I do not get 0, if I do not get 0 because I know this is supposed to end up becoming 0, right? When I plug in x equals 2, I have to get 0. And if I don't get 0, I have a remainder. So that means this would not be a factor. So it's going to be the same right there. So I know if I want to actually do this without doing all the work, I could plug in what x would equal from my factor and then figure out if that's going to work. If it does equal 0, you're good. If it doesn't, then you know what? Yeah, this is what you're stuck with. Okay? All right, so that's actually basically it. So, questions, concerns, complaints? Okay, I know you guys are turning in that worksheet from yesterday, right? Yeah, so it's going to be 2:13 yesterday and 2:12. You guys should have ready to turn in.
Where's 214?
We skipped 14 because it was boring.